Good afternoon and welcome back to episode 18 of Hospo Happy Hour, proudly brought to you by Hospo for Life and Warner's Distillery. In today's episode, we're discussing return to work resilience with Ben Paris for the first round, followed by industry veteran and former executive chef and owner of Woodland Bar and Kitchen, Damian Heads, for last drinks. Let's get Wednesday underway. Up for the first round today, we've got Ben Paris back. It'll be Ben's last segment on the show today, so we're going to make it a good one. So, Ben, we've got many getting ready to go back into their jobs. How can we be resilient enough to actually go back to work now?
Look, yeah, you're right, Liam. Some people are lucky enough to be starting to return at the moment. And it's no secret that the impact of having people away from work has been really catastrophic. The economic repercussion has been significant, and the importance of getting people back quickly but safely has really never been greater for the industry. And we touched on, while some people are lucky enough to have jobs to go back to, there are still a lot of people that are in limbo, a lot of people that aren't secure with employment, and others that will be looking for new jobs. Regardless of where you find yourself at, though, in terms of returning to work, it's important that we acknowledge the potential implications of that transition on our mental health.
Yeah.
I guess one of the saving graces is that we've got more time to prepare for returning to work than a lot of us had for the departure from work, a few months earlier this year. So I was actually speaking to one of my friends last week over a well-earned pale ale, and he's a chef in an aged care facility over here in Perth. And he'd been off for 5 weeks, not spending it. He obviously hasn't been watching our podcast, Liam, because he's been sitting on the couch for most of it. But he just managed to secure a 9-hour shift on Thursday last week, and he was firstly surprised by the physical adjustment he'd had. He was just extremely sore. He said lower back was killing him, but more so the mental strain and the fatigue that he was experiencing. So the psychological impact was something that really hit him quite by surprise.
Yeah.
And that really triggered us. We went, well, what are we doing to prepare for this psychological return? Hence us putting some tips through for today. And so I thought it'd be useful to share some tips. Some of them will be a bit familiar from our previous podcasts, all with the goal of building that psychological resilience that comes along with returning to work.
Absolutely.
So I've broken it down into a stepped approach, a 7-step process for today. First of all, we recommend that you really recognise that you're going to have resistance. We're automatically primed to resist change as humans.
Yeah.
Classic example, getting out of bed in the morning. You're going from a warm, comfy environment to a cold environment where you've got to put effort in, and we really resist that. Well, a lot of us do, at least. And change to a normal routine is often associated with things like fear and concerns that we're losing control over our environment. So resisting change and resisting adjustments to routine is really normal. So it can be really helpful to simply acknowledge that and say, look, there's going to be a change in my routine. We love daily routines. They make our life easier. I'm going to have to acknowledge and accept that that's going to change, and it's going to be harder in the short term. In the same way it took us time to adjust psychologically to leaving work, it's going to take us time to adjust to re-establishing that work routine. It's important we acknowledge it and work with it rather than fighting against that resistance, Liam.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you feel when you go back to work, say, after a long holiday? Emotionally, what goes on for you?
It's for the first week, it's really hard, and that your sleep patterns definitely change,
Sure.
and that you find it harder to get good sleep, and I think you wake up feeling more drained every day than what you actually do, feeling recharged because you just come back from a holiday or a long break. And that's it can be harder. I know personally on the body, and that your feet, low back's a big one, especially if you're in the kitchen all day, standing in the one spot it actually does more damage, and that the more you wouldn't think it would, but it does more damage to your low back and your muscles, and that which keep you, upright, which, you're going to be in pain. And I think for older ones in the industry, and that which aren't so young anymore, I think it have an even bigger impact on them as well. So yeah, it can be quite tiring for the first week, and then just getting your brain, active again, and organized on what you need to do, and that within the kitchen or in the restaurant, and getting that back to normal, interacting with people, and that you might not have had that interaction with one another, and that for which none of us have, and that, so constantly talking and all of that, it's completely draining.
Very, very much so. And you've hit the nail, Liam, in that there's a significant adjustment to routine, a big change, and that is emotionally exhausting, really quite fatiguing. We know that change to a routine, or change in general, can be associated with a whole range of emotional responses, and people might find that they're feeling anything from sadness to fear or anxiety, through to some anger, or even a really positive level of excitement associated with returning to work. It really depends on your own circumstance and your personality. But we recognize these are normal human emotions. They're normal reactions to a really unusual situation we found ourselves going through. So again, simply acknowledging that, hey, I'm feeling quite anxious about returning to work, and labeling that feeling to yourself can be a really helpful step in accepting it and adjusting to that change that comes with returning to work.
Oh, definitely.
And you've hit a really important point again in what you're saying, Liam, in that we're going to be re-engaging back with our colleagues. Now, some of us might have had contact with our colleagues while we were away from work. Even those that have been working through in isolation have still, it's been encouraged that you do still reach out to colleagues and speak to them. Yeah. And we know that strong connections, particularly within the workplace, promote a sense of not only confidence, but they give us a sense of optimism, and they help us to enjoy the work that we're doing. Yeah. It's really important, and we would encourage you to make that effort with your colleagues that you've been distanced from. So if you're on your first shift back, set aside some time to ask how they've been, ask what their experience has been like, and be genuinely interested in what they're saying. So if they're sharing their story with you, really get into what they're talking to you about, and share some of your own experience as well, Liam, because that shows that you're genuine in your interest to connect with them, and people will pick up if you're not genuine. So a bit of give and take is really important when you're re-engaging. Particularly important for those starting in the new workplace. Again, some people are going to be working with new colleagues. You might be doing a completely different role to what you were prior to finishing up work. And we know that relationships take effort. So you've got to invest as early as possible, find out about your colleagues, connect with them, so you can reap the benefits of strong relationships as the month rolls on.
Makes a massive difference.
We then look at focusing on what you can control. And we've covered that quite a bit in previous Happy Hour podcasts. It's that sense of acknowledging there's things out of my control, accepting that, and directing our attention to things we can control. Practically, we would recommend keeping a long-term perspective. So remember that, yes, this is hard, but I will adjust. I've done this before. There was a point where you had your first job, Liam, and I imagine it took you a little while to adjust to work routine.
Oh, massively. Yeah, I was also very young too, so I wasn't in the physical shape that I could have been to, handle the job at the same time.
Of course, and so it's really important that you recognise this will get easier. It's just hard at the moment, but there's an end goal in sight. So remaining optimistic in your outlook and expecting positive things to come from return to work. So reminding yourself that, hey, it's good that I've got some security back. I've got something to fill my day up with. There's a bit of meaning I get from work. I've got some identity coming back. I am now, a chef. I am now a glassy, as opposed to someone that's unemployed. avoid seeing these return to work problems as being unbearable, and keep that temporary mindset that things will get better can be a really positive way of maintaining your resilience, but coping with that adjustment as well. You could even look at for opportunities for self-growth and discovery. Say, look, I'm learning a new skill. I've never done this role before. That's another way that you can build your resilience around return to work.
Yeah. And I think from a management perspective, go easy on your staff when they first come back, because they're gonna, everyone will need to, get back into their jobs again. So, relax a little bit and, do things better this time around than maybe what you did last time.
Really key points, Liam.
Yeah.
On the topic of management, it's really important that we try and avoid rumours and miscommunication when we get back into the workforce. We know that rumours can fuel anxiety and negativity within the workplace.
Yeah.
So, and that makes it more difficult for us to adjust to that return to work and build that new routine. So it's really important that we're getting information about work's return to work strategy, their COVID management. We get that information from the right sources. Don't rely on the kitchen hand that heard something from the wait staff whose brother is friend with the boss.
Yeah.
Get your information from the right sources. And Liam, I'm assuming that would be a supervisor or one of the managers within the work.
Definitely. And from rumors destroy teams. And one thing is in management and as a consultant, I say, look, if you have a problem, the door's open, and that you can always talk about it, but don't talk to everyone else about it, and that because it's only gonna bring not only the morale of everyone down, but it's not healthy in a functioning team environment to have people talking about one another, or what he might have said. Oh, I thought he said that. Like, it just doesn't work, and it's not cool. And that, so you've got to really, put your hand out and go, well, if people need to talk, open up that team so people feel like they can, and they can express how they feel. And I tell you what, it makes for a better working experience, a much better job.
Look, completely agree, Len. And making sure that managers flow that information down to their teams about what's going on in the workplace. Some regular clear comms can be a way of helping them adjust to this new routine, this new work life.
Yeah.
For second last, we look at keeping up your self-care. And we've covered, again, a lot of this content in previous Happy Hour podcasts.
Yeah.
I don't get commission for mentioning the word exercise, but geez, you've got to make sure you keep your exercise up, Liam. Again, the best one you can do is the one you maintain. There's no point trying some exercise that you're just going to do once and then forget about.
Yeah.
If we can aim for that 30 minutes, 5 times a week, as intense as you can manage, then you're going a long way towards managing your mental health. Don't forget about that incidental exercise though. So if you're doing 5 or 10 runs from kitchen out to the floor every minute, then that is a fair bit of exercise you're getting in during the day as well. It all goes towards keeping your brain nice and resilient. Eating balanced diet. Again, we know there's a really strong link between your gut and your brain. Most of the chemicals that make your brain work, balance your mood out, produced in your stomach. So avoiding a lot of processed food, foods that's high in fat and sugar, or food that's got a low nutritional content.
Yeah.
Replace that with unprocessed whole grains, fruit and veggies, to try and give your brain the best chance it can to support your mental health.
Especially going back into the kitchen, all these little snacks that we maybe haven't had for the last 8 weeks, and that all of a sudden they're back.
The bowl of staff wedges we had back in my day, it was always full.
Yeah.
And a dangerous trap.
Oh, I tell you what, it's the same for us, and that the chip bowl was always under the heat lamp. So you'd all have a pick, and that it was quite frustrating. I worked for a couple of businesses which it was a strictly no eat at work. You are not allowed to touch any of the food that comes into the business. You can't have a snack during service. We catch you eating, you're getting a written warning and sent home. And it was, you know, a lot of us like were working like 12 hours a day. Like, well, when are we supposed to eat? And that, so one night I decided to take that pick from the chip bowl, and I got fired. I actually got fired.
For one chip?
Yep. And that, because I broke the rules. And yeah. But yeah, we've all got to be careful what we eat in the kitchen, and, you know, whether we're eating too many fatty things or, you know, try and eat as healthy as we can. But yeah, just a casual story there. And that was...
Look, you hit the nail, Liam. Be careful what you eat. There's temptation all around you, depending on what kitchen you're working in, if you are in a kitchen. But important that we set your brain up to be psychologically resilient from a perspective. Equally as important to set really firm boundaries. So while you're at work, make sure you're at work, switched on. As soon as your shift is finished, switch off. At the end of the day, reach out and connect with friends and family. Set aside that time for pleasurable activities and relaxation, but make sure we're keeping work at work and being really clear with that work-life balance split.
I think a lot of us take our work home with us far too often, and you know, that's another aspect that can really destroy what's good outside of your work life, whether it's family, whether it's relationships, and you know, there are enough hours in a day and that to get everything done at work. We should never have to take it home with us.
Well, and we see when people do take it home, they tend to ruminate or worry late at night in particular, and that can have a really detrimental impact on their sleep. And we know that sleep is critical in restoring your brain and your body, so physical and psychological recovery. So trying to establish a healthy bedtime routine, if you don't already have one in place, and practicing really good sleep hygiene is an important way of making sure you're getting enough sleep to restore your brain. Yeah. If you're finding that the adjustment is difficult, you're not coping with it, you're taking work home, or the anxiety and the worry or the anger or the stress is not going away, it may be that you need to reach out for some more support. Yeah. If you're having difficulty with anything psychologically associated with return to work or life in general, you're not alone. Speak to a trusted friend, a family member, a colleague, or you can inquire with your employer if they offer a psychological support program like an employee assistance program as part of your employment. If not, there is always options to seek psychological help through your GP and usually through Medicare. But it's important that if you're struggling with this adjustment, remember you're not alone and that there is help out there. All you need to do is reach out for it, Liam.
And you can reach out to us at www.hospoforlife.com.au. And we have a wonderful team which have joined us on the series for the last few weeks, and that which are more than able and happy to assist with anything that you need. And that, so don't feel that you don't need to reach out. You can reach out to us.
But that's it for me today, Liam. I just wanted to take the chance to express some appreciation for having myself on over the last few weeks. I always appreciate the opportunity to come and speak about an area that I'm incredibly passionate about. So thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join us across Hospo Happy Hour. The topics have been absolutely amazing over the last few weeks, and I think our viewers, you know, really appreciate the work that's gone into and that putting Hospo Happy Hour together, and the actual, you know, quality and professionalism of you guys at our Tears Group and our People Sense. And that's, so it's been an absolute honour to have you join us as well. So thanks so much, Ben, and take care for the next few months and the future, and look after yourself.
Thanks very much, Liam. Drinks on you.
My pleasure. See you, mate. Howdy, people. Today on Healthy Minds, we're going to learn how to make a nice, cleansing and refreshing juice to have with breakfast or any time of day. Here I've got some banana. That's a great source of vitamin B6. I've also juiced a couple of green apples and a carrot as well prior to recording. You can grab these from your local. You can find them already juiced at your fruit and veg shop or at the supermarket. Apples are great for the body, and carrots, they've got a stack of fibre in them, which is really good for you as well. I've also got some pawpaw here, which is full of vitamin B and C. I've also got a little bit of watermelon, which will keep you well hydrated throughout the day. So what we're going to do, I'm going to chop my pawpaw to start with. We can add that to our blender. I'm just putting in about a nice inch size piece of pawpaw. Also going to add in a nice piece of watermelon as well. Just going to dice that up nice and small. I've also got some banana here as well. I'm just going to pop in half a banana. I think that's all we'll need to use. If you like your banana, you can always add a little bit more. So we're going to just chop that up. That can go in. And then we're going to pour in our apple and carrot juice. Probably got about 50 mils of each. And then I've got some coconut water here, so I'm just going to add a light splash, roughly about 100 mils. There we have it. So we're going to give that a blend for about 30 seconds. You can also use a NutriBullet or whatever you like to blend in at home. And we'll catch you in a sec. So we're giving that a blend for about 30 seconds. Doesn't need any more than that. And we can pour it into our glass. And there you have it. A great juice to start the day or enjoy throughout. Not only is nutritious for you, but tastes absolutely amazing. Delicious. Catch you all next time. Up for last drinks today, we have a very special guest, the former executive chef and owner of Woodland Kitchen and Bar, Damian Heads. Damian, welcome to the show, mate.
Hey guys, how you going? No, thanks for having me. And obviously, it's been a really whirlwind time in our lives to go through all of this and to see what how it's affected ourselves and our families and our friends and everybody else in the industry. And it's a big deal. But yeah, I think first and foremost, like I ran a restaurant of my own for 7 years, and we decided we might try and sell it and do something else because 7 years is a long time to do something. And maybe, the stars aligned, but we sold our restaurant in January, which was just, fantastic. And just before all restaurants were closed. So I think it was good timing, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But, and it was, sort of time for a break, time to have a look at where our lives are going and what we're doing and that. And I feel like maybe too many things have now forced us to rethink how our lives are going.
No, they definitely have. So, Damo, tell us some of your highlights as a chef and restaurateur for over the last 7 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I often think about it. 2005, I married my beautiful wife Jenny, and in 2006, I opened Pony in the Rocks.
Yeah.
In 2007. We had our first child, Liam, and then 2008, we opened Steel Bar and Grill in the city, which was a 240-seat restaurant. 2009, I had a daughter, Amelia, and I opened a cafe that year as well.
Yeah.
2010, we opened Pony in Neutral Bay. 2011, I remember we had a holiday in Fiji, which was lovely, while I was running 3 restaurants. And then in 2012, we moved back up. I went back up to Queensland and opened a Pony up on the river there. So that was another 250-seat restaurant. So that was, a big project. 2013, the projects all got too big and we decided to renegotiate. And then I took the Pony Neutral Bay site and I relaunched it as Woodland Kitchen and Bar. And I could say at that point in my life, I had always wanted to have my own restaurant. and I was lucky enough to have married someone who also was very good in restaurants. So we managed to, Jenny and I bought the restaurant and pushed on and built a good local business, and it went really well for 7 years, and a big part of the local community. And I think that's the thing about restaurants, is you can see them either as a business trying to push to the corporates and push to the tourists and push to those things. But I think possibly the most joy I've had is, as a community restaurant, and, seeing the regulars, getting to know their stories, meeting their families when they come and dine, and have their events and things like that. It's really nice.
Yeah.
But, the nice thing is for me is I've always tried to upskill as a chef. And with each different restaurant, there's been a different challenge. So Pony was wood fire grill, which I'd never used before. And then Steel, we had live fish tanks, which I certainly had to understand about all the pH levels in the water and all that sort of stuff. Don't ask me anything about it now. I've dropped that information. And then in Neutral Bay, it was just different design and layout and different food, and we've been dealing with having a really thriving economy, and then the GFC happened, and then we had to sort of have a hiccup and rethink how we did our corporate things. And then, we've been pushing on again, and then the drought happened and the cost of meat went through the roof, and, like dairy prices have been going up because of all those things. And, we've had to rethink how we cook, because we've had to adapt to the prices we're paying and what consumers are willing to spend.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is, even though right now we're being forced to sort of maybe think about how we're going to move forwards, the reality is, even when you're working full time and doing everything, there's so many challenges that come your way, and you don't kind of realize what you deal with day after day after day. So this is actually a nice break.
Oh, mate.
I haven't stopped cooking, because if I did, I think I'd go crazy. Jenny's always like, "Are you seriously in the kitchen again?" Like,
It's a good.
Yeah,
it's good for the mind. It's good to relax.
That's right. And it's nicer being home when you can smell lamb shanks, ticking away on the stove, or you can smell chicken stock, or you can smell something baking, or sort of lifts the spirits a little bit. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
What's some of the as a restaurant owner, and I know that you guys, and that from knowing you over the last 6 years, and that, what are some of the mental health challenges of actually owning a restaurant?
Oh my goodness.
There's a lot of them, I know that. And
There are.
what are some of the key challenges which you've faced over the years?
Well, I think the big thing is, like when you start in a leadership role, or you've been working in a team and stuff, you start by thinking, "Oh, good, I get to be in charge of people." And, that's a really naive approach to team management, because the reality is you get to, be maybe a role model, but you also get to be a coach. You get to be a friend. You get to be, like almost like a psychiatrist or a psychologist or something. And you're just basically a support person. But the teams you work in, they are sort of a faux family per se, or for some people, a real family.
Yeah.
And it's really important what hospitality provides people. And it's important to understand that people come to you from all walks of life. They come from all different situations. They come from different family environments, different cultural beliefs, different, and you have to learn. I guess the big thing is to learn to adapt, like when all your kitchen hands are being really slow and it's Ramadan, you have to understand that that's something that's going on in their lives, and you just got to give them a little bit of slack for that.
Yeah.
When your apprentice is having a fight with her boyfriend and she's coming to work looking all gruff, you just do the whole, "Are you okay?" And she's like, not getting on so well, so you back off. But you also provide support, and you do your best, because what you're trying to do is make your business a success. You're trying to make the customer experience consistent and exciting and quality all the time. But you've also got to bring your people up to that desire to please the customers and to want to do it day after day after day. So there are elements of hospitality which can get extremely boring, which can get extremely repetitive. But at the same time, there are so many elements that are, it's the routine that actually keeps you calm, and it's the new ideas that keep you excited, and it's the it's very hard to explain to anyone who doesn't work in a restaurant, but the smells, the textures, the sights, the feel of things, when you're in the kitchen, and you do have the seasons of the year. So being in the kitchen in summer and doing more grill and fresh salads and stuff is very different to the slow ticked, dishes on the back burner or in the oven, and that or the overnight cooks, or the, like, it's sort of evolving with the seasons, and it's nice, and it is a hard, it's a tough one, because I think I've done, the 60 plus hours a week for the last 15 years. But at the same time, I've got a 10 and a 12-year-old now, and 11 and 12, sorry, I'll get in trouble. But they probably haven't been given the best attention from me. And so that would also, while I'm trying to weigh on all from Jenny, and while we're trying to look after the restaurant, that is also weighing in on our thoughts and our decisions and our, so I think the reality is everybody works, everybody has a personal life, everybody has emotions, everybody has, and just needs support and a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing that coronavirus has hit in a lot of people, is having a sense of purpose. It's, like getting up every day and going to work, that is half your battle won. Like, because you got up and you did something. And so for me, that's a big part of now, is like, I get up every day, I still make breakfast, I pack lunches, I walk my daughter to school and come back, and like, it's like I've created my own routine, and I stick to it because it keeps me calm. And I think it's because I've always had a routine in the restaurants, and you don't realize how much they actually stabilize you. Or
definitely. And once you change that routine, everything else starts to change around it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We've definitely been highlighting that across Hospo Happy Hour for the last 3-4 weeks, and that is stick to a routine each day, because keeping that sense of normality actually helps those issues as well.
Well, we had a lot of fun when we first stopped working, because I don't think I'd paid a lot of attention to our house. So, things got cleaned, things got fixed, things got painted, things. I was upskilling in the handyman department a little bit. Yeah, I've now used a caulking gun, spray paint, getting on with it all. But that was something that you kind of do, and it makes you happy because you've achieved a project and stuff like that. But at the same time, we really wanted, we've lived in the same place for a long time. We really wanted to do some renovation in our kitchen. But because of coronavirus, we're like anyone, you've got to protect your accounts and go, okay, we're not going to spend that money because we don't know how long is this going to go for. What,
exactly.
And it's the unknown. So you can't get too upset about what you can't do and what you can't have. You've just got to be really grateful for what you can do, and what, small changes you can make in your own capacity.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And like, obviously, one of the things that I did when I finished the restaurant too was I've always wanted to do some sort of fitness, because I get a bad back in the restaurant. I'm always standing up, and, physio says, get your core fit, you've got to do more stretches for your core and stuff. So I ended up joining like a boutique gym that has less, like less of a gymmy sort of feel, but more like good exercises, good stretches, good weight stuff. And I did it for a couple of weeks, and I was feeling really good. And then that stopped, so it was like, oh no. But then, then they, like every business, they've had to go back to the drawing board, and they've relaunched home workouts. And so I'm driving my family mad, because for 45 minutes a day, I'm in the lounge room. I've got, I finally managed to get some dumbbells after a few weeks, and I've just been doing my workouts every day. So, between the breakfast, the lunch, the morning walk, the workout, doing lunch, it's just like, you do have to have a routine. There's got to be something, but I really try not to watch TV all day, because it just drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
But you do fail some days.
Sucked in pretty easily. It was the same with me at the beginning. I was just reading the news for hours, and I was like, what am I reading the news for? Like, it's just that, it's depressing. And
yeah.
Do something with your life.
Yeah. And also, you know, like every year my mum would buy me a novel and Jenny's mum would buy me a novel. So I had like 2 novels in my drawer I hadn't even read from 2 years ago. So it's great because I've read them now. Like, like normally there's no time for reading books, and I mean, I don't make the time because I'm too tired.
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of, you know, carving those time out in my day to do things like that, which are actually also good, you know, for staying calm and for not watching the news and not, you know, and there's only so many shows on Netflix I can get hooked on, and you know, it's like, and we've been watching, this is really sad too, with the kids every night at 5:30 on the SBS, letters and numbers, yeah. And it's really annoying me because now Liam, my 12-year-old, he can get the maths equations quicker than I can. And
Oh, God.
So we've got a bit of family competition going on as well. Chess tournament, you know, that sort of stuff. So
It's good to
happening.
have family time with one another, and that, because everybody doesn't, you know, when we're working, we don't get those times, and that's with each other, and that's it's quite testing, and for everybody, you know, with the family, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, you have to accept it and embrace it.
Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic, Damo. One thing which we always do every day, and that's share something that's positive for our viewers coming out of COVID, and looking for something to look forward to for the future. Like, none of us have a ball we can gaze into and go, oh, what's going to happen next? But something that, you know, we can, you know, some advice that we can give them to make their careers, say, better, or, you know, help the pressures that they go through.
I think the biggest thing as a young chef, or as any chef or in hospitality, is to actually accept that the place you're working for is a business, and it needs to make money, and it needs to be really good. Otherwise, people aren't going to come to that business, and, you know, your wages kind of really do come from the success of your business. And so, you know, it's a really important thing to, you know, a lot of young chefs come in and they work on the cold section, and they'll get stuck on the cold section because they don't look forwards, or they don't try to look out or do more. And other people come in on the cold section and they see what the sauce chef's doing, or they see what the pastry chef's doing, and they want to be part of it. And I think the big thing about hospitality is, if you are part of it, be part of it.
Yeah.
Because it's an energized, and it's a really amazing industry, and it can support people for years. You know, like I started when I was 17. I've been cooking for 26 years now. I don't think that it's been 26 years, it's gone so fast. But I've really loved the industry the whole time. And I think, you know, and the big thing too is, when you choose a place to work, you've really got to choose somewhere that's going to challenge you moderately. Yeah. Don't just choose a place because you know how to do it. Choose a place because there's something about it that you'd really like to know. And then accept that you don't know it and learn it. Yeah. Because, you know, a year from now, you'll have better skills than what you had when you started. And that's kind of, you know, the nature of the industry. But who knows what opportunities we can all go for now. Like,
yeah, it's still going to be tough for a while for a lot, but
yeah,
it will come back eventually. And I think, you know, as a few of us have spoken about over the past few weeks, I think it will eventually come back stronger. I think everyone's learned a lot over this period that, you know, we haven't, you know, had to go through something like it before, but everyone's come together. And I think that'll now, you know, really help, you know, the next generation along in the industry as well.
And then as we do it, we just need to remember that we've got to support all of our Australian farmers.
Oh, big time.
Because if you think you're doing it tough,
doing it a lot tougher.
They're doing it tough. So, but it's great, you know, like, it's a great industry. So hopefully we can all get back into it soon enough.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the show today, Damo. I know you're busy. You're busy with all of your household.
Yeah, you're messing with my schedule, buddy.
No, fantastic, and yeah, massive pleasure to have you join us.
Good to see you, Liam. Thank you.
You too, mate. Talk soon.
Cheers.
Bye. What a fantastic show that was today. That's all we have time for, and you can catch us back here on Friday at 5 p.m. We will be discussing how to manage pain, and for last drinks, we'll be chatting with the corporate executive chef of Unilever Food Solutions Australia, Andrew Ballard. Big thanks to our partners, Warner's Gin and Altius Group, for supporting the show. Stay strong and stay united in spirit to create a positive change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Stay safe and good night.